Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to this series of interviews. This is the final one of the series actually. I'm here with Laurel Drake. How are you?
Very good. I'm glad to be here with you, Colin.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. You are running for Harpers Ferry Town Council. It's the only contested race, I believe, in the elections coming up, correct?
Yes, that's true. In Harpers Ferry, it is the only contested. That's right.
So then what made you want to run for town council?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm in a hotel breakfast room, and I thought that they were going to vacuum. And so you said, why did I decide to run? Very good question. I decided there were some issues I cared about that I would like to see, things that would help the town, and I would like to be a part of a council that deals with those issues and helps solve it and make things better.
What are some of the issues that you think are most important in the town?
Well, I can tell you a few things, and these are not in any particular order. One of course is to help the Hilltop Hotel get established. We have to look out for the interests of the citizens of Harpers Ferry, those interests, the short-term interests and the long-term interests. But we need to help them do that in a way that's compatible with the interests of the town. Another one is the water. Harpers Ferry has its own water utility, the Harpers Ferry Waterworks. They are getting ready to hire an administrative head. This oversight position has been needed for years. And it's important that we advertise and get this person in position as soon as possible. We're lucky and grateful to have all good people working at the Harpers Ferry Waterworks. But without someone overseeing the waterworks, there are things that just don't get done. I liken it to the response to the pandemic that was being handled by 50 individual states without a federal presence that was guiding and helping. And it didn't go so well in some instances because there wasn't a federal oversight. And I liken it to that because for the waterworks, this administrator is needed to help keep things running well and running smoothly. The last thing I would mention is that in another candidate forum, I discussed the topic of how a small town like Harpers Ferry needs citizens to help run it. We have a lot of commissions to help. The council itself, they do a great deal of the work in running the town. Now, this is not a controversial topic. Everybody would agree with that we need citizens to help run the town. But I want to clarify something I said earlier. I do fully support B&B owners and their businesses in Harpers Ferry. They're an important part of why Harpers Ferry is viewed as a beautiful, wonderful place to come, is because of our B&B owners. So the issue of having enough people who want to serve on all these different commissions and help run the town, it's a complex issue. It's not just due to absentee B&B owners, or it's a very complex issue. And I'm not sure how I stated it earlier, but I want to clarify that I'm not drawing a line between absentee B&B owners and this issue of having enough people to run our town. I think it's more complex than that.
Have you been watching, I'm assuming you've watched town council meetings before and you kind of kept up with the current town council?
Yes.
And so how good of a job do you think they've done over the last 2 years? What are some good things you think this current council has accomplished?
I have to I am just so thankful to the current council. They spent, something like a dozen 3 or 4 hour meetings trying to decide the issue of the paper streets. And through all those meetings, they came out with a very detailed document that handled the paper street issue and also protected the interests of the Harpers Ferry citizens. And I would say kudos to them for that. That was a long process, but they stuck with it and they came out with a great agreement.
Are there things that you disagreed with them on, things you would have changed?
Well, I think the issue of not voting to accept the provisional ballots of the last election was a big mistake on their part, and it was resoundingly made clear it was a big mistake by the West Virginia Supreme Court. And however, I realized that was part of the council voted for that and others vigorously opposed it. So that was something that kept our true council representatives from being seated for more than a year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing that kind of divided everybody too in town, or at least it seemed as such. And I think there is a lot of division now that people are very, very divided on a couple key issues. How would you think council could help bring everybody back together in town and be on the same page again?
Well, I think that Mayor Vaughn, or I'm calling him Mayor Vaughn because he was a previous mayor, but the future Mayor Vaughn, who is running unopposed, has said he's emphasizing truth, honesty, transparency, and that is that nobody can argue with that. Nobody can argue with being honest and being transparent in your government dealings. And that, I think, is the way we will get back to having a non-divided town. That's what I believe, that it's going to go back there because of the leadership that is coming in.
Have you ever run for public office before?
Never.
So how has this experience been so far for you? Has it been nerve-wracking at all?
Well, I suppose to some extent, but at the same time, I do have views about where I would like to contribute. And so I guess that keeps me going forward.
Have you been active in the community? Do you volunteer for a lot of things? Like, is this something out of the norm for you?
Yeah, thank you.
I apologize, but could you repeat the question?
Do you volunteer around town? Do you have organizations you're involved with already?
I've been here for 10 or basically 11 years in Harpers Ferry or Bolivar. I owned a hostel in town that I started 11 years ago and recently sold it. Someone else is going to run the hostel. I became very involved with the Appalachian Trail and everything that they do. I've been on the Water Commission for a number of years. And so, although sort of in and out, I was in for a while. I was a chair at one point. Then I was out for a couple of years, and now I'm back in the Water Commission. So in that respect, there's a lot of work to do on the Water Commission. So that one commission is enough for one person, honestly.
Yeah, let's go back to that for a second, because if I'm correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there some debate over whether or not they should hire somebody to run the project? Is that what I understand?
Well, yeah, what I was just talking about was the head of the utility. That is not just head of the project, because the project will be, up 2 years long. At one time, you're right. We voted to hire a project coordinator. I think that's the name of that position. And there was some debate over that, about whether that was needed or not. And it was finally decided. I read your column about the meeting where the mayor said, yes, we need this, we need to fund it, and then he voted against it. So it got decided right then, because with his vote, it failed. What I can say is that the engineering firm we have hired to do that project is just very conscientious and good, and I have confidence in them that they are overseeing it and following the rules and doing a good job. So this administrator position is really not over the water project per se. It is really over the utility.
Is there currently debate about that now for the utility?
Actually, it was a unanimous vote to recommend that such a person be hired. It was sent to the last town council. They approved the position pending we need to complete the job description for it, and subject to budgetary approval. And so we need to also get that from our accountant. So at this point, everyone agrees it is needed, which I'm happy to say.
Yeah, that's something. One thing that a lot of other people are talked about in terms of what Harpers Ferry needs is work on infrastructure, meaning sidewalks, and that's been kind of a hot topic with a lot of the candidates I've spoken with already. What is your position on getting new sidewalks or repairing sidewalks? Is that one of the big things at the top of the list?
Well, I would say I have not been part of conversations about that. I do hear complaints occasionally about the sidewalks. I am myself walking on the sidewalks all the time, and I know what they're talking about, uneven parts. To me, some places where a railing is needed and there is none. But I would have to look into that more really to give you a really educated, discussion of it.
Yeah, that kind of leads into this is sort of a Pollyanna question to ask, but if you could change one thing in Harpers Ferry right now, what would it be? You could just magically wave a wand. What would that thing be?
Harpers Ferry, huh? I guess that might be, I think we need to work toward having a city manager.
Oh, that's interesting.
Basically, we can't do that right now, but as I said, the mayor, town council, all of the commissions, we do all of the work of the town, and it's a lot of work. And for all the commissions, they're not being paid anything. They're all volunteer, and for the town council, it's often people have a full-time job in addition to their council duties. So it's very hard to get all the work done. And I think having an administrator in the city government would be helpful.
So how would you, I would think the issue would be paying the person, right? Like,
yes.
So how would you recommend coming about the funds? How could that happen?
Well, we are going to see a large increase in B&O tax from the hotel. And so, which not just from the hotel, but from all the additional people who will be coming and from all the other businesses as well, will have increased income. I believe that that is how we would fund it, is out of those funds.
Were you always in favor of the hotel? Or were you ever against the hotel? How has your position been through the years?
I moved here right after the controversy came to a head and died off. So I didn't even see that earlier controversy. I just heard the stories.
Yeah.
So I would say I always thought it was a good idea to have a hotel there, to have it rebuilt. And I've been gratified. Well, let me put it this way. I've been pleased to see that the Swan Group has always had the attitude of wanting to work with the town. And and I think that's a good thing. So historically, I would say I've always been in favor of it. And I, of course, want to protect our citizens and the fact that we have 24/7 access to the viewpoints, and we'll still have those. And they're putting in a trail from the hotel down all the way to Lower Town, which will be another access for anyone to use. I think the trail will be open just dawn to dusk. Is a great thing. And so I think it's a win-win situation for the town.
So now I have a couple, we like to wrap up this way. I have a couple fun questions, not as serious. And the one that I always start with, and I'm very curious to hear your answer. If I go to Harpers Ferry, where should I go to dinner? What would you recommend the most?
You know, they come in and out. Like the Canal House has closed now. I can't recommend that. I would say well, of course, that's in Bolivar as well. But in Harpers Ferry, I always recommend the Cannonball Deli to people as a good place. They have indoor and outdoor seating, and it's just really good food.
Okay.
But there are a lot of places up and down High Street that are good.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm told. And speaking of that, like you said, you were talking about trails earlier. They're going to put a trail. Are there trails in Harpers Ferry that you particularly like?
Trails, yes. From Bolivar Heights, there's trail. Well, if you want to, are you speaking about just in Harpers Ferry?
It can expand a little bit. It can expand to Bolivar.
There's a trail that starts at the Nash Farm and goes over to Bakerton Road that nobody seems to know about, but it's a definite trail. It's the fastest way to get to Bakerton Road from the Nash Farm. There's that trail also will branch off and go to Bolivar Heights. The Appalachian Trail through town is beautiful. Just taking that segment, the Appalachian Trail through Harpers Ferry, is a beautiful trail with beautiful views of the river. Yeah, so it does. There's a lot that's offered in Harpers Ferry.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing too that I've liked to ask people is, through the pandemic over the last year, I know a lot of people have kind of picked up a hobby. They like learned how to knit, or they learned how to, or they binged a television show or something. Was there anything that you picked up during the pandemic over the last year?
I have to think about that question. I walked a lot because that was the way to meet my neighbors. I think I'm always a walker. I walk a lot anyway, but during the pandemic, it was especially important because that was the only way to see people. We were not inviting each other into our homes, right? And it never failed to go outside and walk a few blocks and see somebody, you know. So I guess you'd say I became even more of a walker than I had been previously.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book?
That would be Kim by Rudyard Kipling. I like that book because that little boy is an adventurer, and I love all the things he does and gets away with.
Okay. And then finally, this is the last question I have for you. Okay. Would you ever consider running for mayor?
That's not in my radar. You know, I think I enjoy being part of a team, and that's what I will look forward to, is working with others to get things done. Of course, that's what the mayor does as well. But no, it's not really on my radar.
Okay. Maybe president someday, president of the United States?
I don't think that's on my radar either.
Well, Laurel, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy, and good luck with the election coming up.
Well, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Bye-bye.